Good evening, welcome to ITV News. This is Monday night's calendar.
And here are tonight's main stories.
More than a game, the Rugby League community will come together tonight to remember little Rycroft, who lost his life at just 16 months.
So you'd see a Leeds fan and a Saints fan on one thread, just sort of tearing lumps out at each other and what have you, and then on the Rycroft thread, they're there, the same guys, just sort of agreeing and saying, yeah, let's do it for Rycroft.
Tributes are paid to a scooter rider who died after a collision with an ambulance on an emergency call near Barnsley.
Could this be the last post? The British Legion says it faces scrapping remembrance parades in North Yorkshire because police say they won't direct the traffic.
Police have written to us and told us that they're no longer going to carry out the traffic management of the parade and that we've got to, in effect, provide that for ourselves.
People gave their lives and continue to give their lives, don't they?
I agree. I think it's really important. I think it's important for the younger generation to realise what's gone before.
Over 7 million people play darts in Britain, and believe me, we've 16 of the best. I'll say that.
And as we all get ready to celebrate Yorkshire Day, we delve into the archives to unearth some true TV gold straight from God's own country. Hello and thanks very much for joining us. First tonight, Rugby League fans from across the country are expected to gather in Bradford this evening to pay tribute to a little boy who passed away from a rare genetic condition.
Yes, 16-month-old Rycroft Alport Foster was born with Schwachman-Diamond syndrome and died after contracting an infection just weeks after being given a bone marrow transplant.
Well, Rycroft's dad, Andrew, is a huge Bradford Bulls fan, and during tonight's game against Barrow at Odsal, fans are being asked to wear purple, yellow and green, Rycroft's favourite colours, and join in a song in Rycroft's memory. Chris Dorks reports.
Just a fantastic little boy. Everyone who met him seems to fall in love with him.
Little Rycroft was just 16 months old when he passed away. Born with a rare genetic condition, Schwachman-Diamond syndrome, Rycroft spent most of his short life in hospital. In March, he was given a bone marrow transplant, but caught an infection and died a couple of months later.
I mean, it sounds like such a cliche when people say that someone was inspirational, but he really was, because he just got on with it, and he had to cope with so much in such a short amount of time. It blew my mind every day. Rycroft's favourite person in the world was Lyra. He loved you very much, didn't he?
He was very special.
What did you like to do with Rycroft? What was your favourite game to play with Rycroft?
Tickling him.
Tickling him.
You used to tickle him. Did he like it?
Only baby tickle.
Only baby tickles.
Rycroft's dad, Andrew, is a lifelong Bradford Bulls fan. In fact, Rycroft is named after his great-granddad, who regaled a young Andrew with tales of Bradford beating the mighty Australians in 1933. Now, through Andrew's love of the sport, Rycroft's story has united the Rugby League community, and a fundraising page has so far seen donations of over £40,000.
It's been so great seeing, so you'd see a Leeds fan and a Saints fan on one thread, just sort of tearing lumps out at each other and what have you, and then on the Rycroft thread, they're there, the same guys, just sort of agreeing and saying, yeah, let's do it for Rycroft. And I think that's what rugby league is, isn't it? Firm foes, and then as soon as the hooter goes, then we're a community and we're all together.
Rycroft's favourite song was Rocking All Over the World. Rycroft All Over the World was sung at his funeral, and tonight in the 16th minute of Bradford's game against Barrow, fans are being asked to join in a special rendition.
This is a really special place for me, and I suppose in some ways this is my church. His funeral was a beautiful thing, and this will be another, slightly different context, but another really beautiful way to commemorate him and to do some good work on his behalf.
You never had the chance to bring him physically here, but he's going to be here in spirit, isn't he, with you?
Yeah, 100%.
He's still one of us, and I think that's been seen this week. We know he's a Bradford Bulls fan. He will always be part of this place and this club.
Remembering little Rycroft there. Now, a row's broken out in a North Yorkshire market town after the police say they'll no longer close a road to allow the Remembrance Day parade to take place. The British Legion in Knaresborough says it'll not use money it raises for veterans to pay for private traffic management.
North Yorkshire Police have told them its resources will go to fighting crime instead, and the rule applies across the county. Katie Oscroft reports.
Well, Ian, this is St John's Church where the Remembrance Day parade starts. As a band, Army cadets take part and thousands turn out to watch it as it wends its way from here through the High Street in the centre of town up to the War Memorial in the grounds of the ruined castle. And people see us as shocked that this might not take place next year. And they're saying, given what it's about, surely whatever it costs is a price that ought to be paid. Dave Holgate often visits the War Memorial high above the centre of Knaresborough. He says it's important to remember and reflect on the ultimate price many paid. But it's the financial cost which may now stop the Remembrance Parade from happening this year.
The police have written to us and told us that they're no longer going to carry out the traffic management of the parade and that we've got to, in effect, provide that for ourselves. It's a big letdown for the town. We get an awful lot of people here to commemorate those that have lost their lives from Knaresborough.
In a letter, North Yorkshire Police have told Knaresborough British Legion it will channel its resources into crime and antisocial behaviour and will no longer provide traffic management for the parade, which passes through the High Street.
I think there's points where you've got to say, yep, we've got to spend a little bit of money. And it won't cost, I'm sure it wouldn't cost that much to manage it.
People gave their lives and continue to give their lives, don't they?
I agree. I think it's really important. I think it's important for the younger generation to realise what's gone before.
Jacob and Arabella know all about Remembrance Day. Their grandmother watches the parade every year.
They've been in parades for scouts and, yes, for it, so I think it is very important.
Do you have any relatives who fought in the war?
I have my great-granddad.
I think it's pretty important that, like you said, people in my generation remember that and are grateful for people who helped us during the war.
Derek supports their view of a decision which could see the parade cancelled.
The police are concentrating too much on the motorists and trying to catch them out, and they're not concentrating on the true gritty village life and that, you know.
The nation paused to remember.
The British Legion was formed in 1921. Since then, there have been poignant remembrance services and parades across North Yorkshire to ensure that memories don't fade of the sacrifices paid by previous generations.
It's unfortunate that they are unable to provide this relatively small service for the community in which they too serve.
This year there is now a debate over whether the cost of the traditional commemoration of lives lost is a price worth paying.
Let's go back to Katie. And Katie, what has North Yorkshire Police had to say?
Well, Ian, whilst the British Legion in Knaresborough are hoping there's time between now and November for a change of heart, we approached North Yorkshire Police today and they told us that they won't even be commenting on this policy. But their letter to the British Legion clearly states that it's not just about Knaresborough. This policy is county-wide, so there will be many more towns and villages other than Knaresborough here affected.
Katie Oscroft in Knaresborough, thank you. You're watching Monday Night's Calendar, and still to come.
When you walked in, tell me this, when you walked in, did you have a meeting the first day with them?
With Yorkshire Day approaching, we've gone into the archives to unearth some very special moments from 5.5 decades of telly gold.
And as we say goodbye to a pretty wet July, what's the first week of August looking like weather-wise? All the detail for the rest of the week a little later on.
Tributes have been left at the scene where a scooter rider died on Friday evening after he was in collision with a South Yorkshire ambulance service vehicle on its way to an emergency call.
The 31-year-old man was severely injured and died on Saturday. Since then, bikers have visited the junction near Barnsley, where he was injured, to leave flowers and messages. Here's Martin Fisher.
Well, the tributes mounting up here in Hole and Swain, just to the west of Barnsley, following this accident on Friday evening at around 10:30 p.m. 31-year-old Sean Jackson has been named locally as a scooter rider who was in collision with an ambulance attending a 999 blue light call. Now, Sean received very serious injuries in that collision. He was taken to hospital, but sadly he died the following day. Well, yesterday, hundreds of motorbike riders and scooter riders descended on this busy road junction to pay their respects. Many of them bringing the flowers that are behind me, but also leaving other tributes. There's a motorcycle helmet, there's goggles, and also a part of a motorbike with a message on that says, "Love you always, ride high in the clouds, my angel." Well, South Yorkshire Police are appealing for help with this incident. They particularly want to hear from people who were in the area at the time, but also people who may have dash cam footage so they can begin to understand exactly what happened here. Martin Fisher, ITV News, near Barnsley.
Police are investigating after a chemical substance was let off inside a nightclub in Doncaster. Officers were called to Popworks on Silver Street at 5 a.m. yesterday. 8 people were taken to hospital, but none of them are thought to have lasting effects. Officers say it was a terrifying ordeal for those in the club, and they're working to identify what the substance was.
Now to growing calls for tighter regulations around anti-wrinkle cosmetic injections amid claims that many people are suffering long-term side effects like anxiety, pain and dizziness.
One woman told Calendar she believed an injection was controlled prescription drug only, triggered a series of panic attacks, and insists she'd have never had the treatment if she'd been aware of the dangers. Well, currently you don't need any strict qualifications to administer the injections, but the government is now looking at plans to licence what is a highly lucrative industry. Catherine Walker has more.
Not over my dead body. I wouldn't have gone near it. If I'd known then what I know now, never.
8 years ago, mental health counsellor Jenny went to get an anti-wrinkle jab. Days later, she needed help with her own mental health. She blames a sudden change in her well-being on the injections.
It was just a matter of like a light switch on, and I had my first panic attack. I ended up having 5-6 panic attacks a day. I was unable to leave my house. My body was shaking, my hands were sweating. I became absolutely terrified. I've never experienced anything like this before in my life.
Anti-wrinkle injections containing botulinum toxin have become popular over the last decade. But a new survey of patients who said they had complications found 69% had long-lasting effects, including mental health problems. Pain and anxiety were the most commonly reported issues, affecting 16% of survey respondents. 9% said they had panic attacks and 6% had dizziness and brain fog. Report co-author Dr. Zagaran says more people need to be aware of the risks.
It needs to be fully explained to patients who undergo these interventions that actually these complications can arise, and beyond the physical complications of botulinum toxin, patients do experience a variety of emotional, psychological and financial complications. I think more work can be done to explore this, and we hope that this will sort of set the scene for further work to be done.
At the moment, you don't need any strict qualifications to give anti-wrinkle jabs, and there's no standardised consent process. Halifax GP Dr. Attia wants to see more done to protect patients.
You should be getting a full medical consultation with a prescriber in order to get that treatment. So that consultation should cover any complications, any contraindications, whether you're prone to certain side effects for this treatment.
The government are in the process of updating their policy around injectables. And in a statement, they told me they want to make it an offence to carry out non-surgical cosmetic procedures without a licence to ensure consistent safety standards. But until the law changes, the industry is effectively unregulated. The warning from people like Jenny is to make sure you fully understand the risks before getting any anti-ageing jab. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
Well, a little earlier, I spoke to Dr. Tamara Griffiths, a consultant and member of the British Association of Dermatologists, and I asked her if a lack of information around these injections was worrying.
I think it is a significant concern. We know that there are adverse events that happen with these procedures. The study that was published in Skin Health and Disease suggests that 50% of patients who report adverse events are turned away by the original practitioner. So they're not supported and they're not given any advice and treatment to correct problems if needed. So I think it's a significant problem, and I do feel regulation in this arena needs to be tightened up without a doubt.
Do you think there needs to be more research around the mental health implications of these injections? Anxiety and depression are listed as uncommon side effects of the drug.
Yes, they are listed as uncommon side effects. There are also good studies to suggest patients that have anti-wrinkle treatments actually feel happier because they look more relaxed and through positive feedback mechanism. But in the context of this particular paper, most patients reported adverse events, and 20% of those adverse events were anxiety, with 10% actually being anxiety attacks. So I think it is something that needs to be looked into, and we can't necessarily say the drug itself causes anxiety, that there's direct causality, but certainly something around the way the drug is administered, the consent and the support if a patient has a problem seems to be raising up anxiety as a real risk.
OK, Dr. Tamara, we do have to leave it there. Clearly, it's something research will continue into. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, time for some sport now, and Arif joins us in the studio. Arif, news of a world title fight.
Yeah, that's right. Sadly, in the last few hours, it's been announced that Josh Warrington will take on Lee Wood in October as he looks to become a three-time world champion. And in all-British showdown, the Leeds Warrior will take on the reigning WBA featherweight champion Lee Wood, who's from Nottingham. The fight will happen on October the 7th at the Sheffield Arena. Football and Sheffield United are on the verge of losing their star player, Iliman Ndiaye, as he looks to make a move to French club Marseille. The 23-year-old midfielder was greeted by hundreds of fans as he arrived in France last night to seal a move to his boyhood club. Ndiaye played a crucial role in helping the Blades secure promotion to the Premier League, scoring 15 goals in all competitions last season. Wakefield Trinity gave their hopes of avoiding the drop in Super League a major boost after thrashing Warrington yesterday. In his senior, on his return to the club, scored 4 tries, including a first-half hat-trick, as Trinity secured their biggest win of the season so far. But despite winning 42-6, Wakefield remained bottom, crucially even moved level on points with Castleford, who sit one place above them in the table. And finally, from me, on Friday, we featured little Harry Keenan from Pudsey ahead of the Transplant Games. Well, this is him posing with 3 medals that he picked up this weekend. A massive congratulations to him. He was taking part after having a liver transplant at just 14 months old. Well, it looks like he's got a gold, silver and a bronze there. He's done well.
He's got the hat-trick.
Yeah,
It's great. Arif, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Now, the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Mary Nightingale.
Coming up in the programme, anger from Green campaigners as hundreds of new oil and gas licences are announced. The Prime Minister defends the expansion of North Sea oil and gas drilling, while environmental groups say it is pouring more fuel on the flames of global warming. The British expat allowed to walk free from court after being found guilty of killing his ill wife. And the voice of an angel, the teenage chorister, topping the charts. Do join me for those stories and much more at 6:30.
Mary, thanks very much. Now, Kerry's with us, and Kerry, it feels more like autumn than the approach of August.
Oh, everyone was a little bit grumpy in the office today, weren't they? I had to put the lights on. It went so dark when the rain came in. People are even sharing mushroom pictures. It's like, oh no, please. Of course, tomorrow is the start of the last month of summer, but it does look like possibly towards the end of the second week it might start to settle down. but not until then. So what is going on? Well, we've talked about the jet stream a lot, and we're basically just north of it in areas of low pressure, particularly on Wednesday, but you can see them developing again to the west as we head towards the weekend. Continue to come towards us west to east. So yeah, not at all times, but yeah, showers or longer spells of rain never too far away. If I backtrack that same sequence and give you the air mass and the winds, you can see quite windy, particularly along the coast and over higher grounds on Wednesday. And then we've got a northerly by Thursday, so it is going to feel quite cool in exposure to that northerly. Nothing too exceptional, but a bit disappointing for the first week in August. And globally, this July has probably been the hottest that's ever been recorded for planet Earth, but it has felt quite cool. And here are the stats for July so far. White down the east coast, so probably what we'd expect, but further west we have seen about between half a degree and a degree lower than what we'd expect. So the average is around 21 and a half. So it's been a little bit disappointing. I guess it's all about perspective, because July has been the coldest, or colder than June, for the first time since when do you think?
Records began.
1970. So this is the first time July has been cooler than June since 1970. But you've still been out and about. A big thank you to Brian Callery. He was doing the Cleveland walk between Whitby and Saltwick today. Cloudy skies, but absolutely gorgeous shots. And also to Karen, a big thank you. She's been in Hunmanby in York, and it was actually about 21 degrees at the coast at about 11 a.m. So you can just see a little bit of steam there on the North Sea. So some beautiful photographs. Keep them coming. Weather photos at itv.com.
Kerry, thanks very much indeed. Those clouds do make for some pretty pictures.
We love a
they?
cloud.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Now, as all tykes know, tomorrow, August the 1st, is Yorkshire Day, when all great things about the county's 4 combined shires are celebrated.
And here at ITV, we've got our own special tribute. The ITV3 channel is dedicating its entire day schedule to Yorkshire-made programmes, including classics like Emmerdale, The Royal Heartbeat and A Touch of Frost.
But while those programmes stick in the memory, Yorkshire Television, as we were known, produced many other classics which you might just remember. Fraser Maud has been trawling the archives.
Yorkshire TV's Chevron, and our own take on Ilkley Bar Tat, is famous in its own right, and the programmes it preceded have gone down in television history too. Of course, there's Emmerdale, which has had soap fans glued to the box for over 50 years. Not surprising, with heart-stopping action like this.
Really? You were going to phone. I was going to come meet you.
And I had to walk it, Ma.
For generations of viewers over the decades, there's been something quintessentially Sunday about the White Rose County, from the dales of Heartbeat to the coastline of the Royal, and the cobbles and canals of the Calder Valley in Where the Heart is.
I'm asking you to ask the Poole family if they'd please sing something that might cheer her up.
Before that, Stars on Sunday, where Jess Yates persuaded some of the biggest names in showbiz to do a turn for the minimum equity fee of £49.
Do not give dogs what is holy. Do not throw your pearls before swine.
And where up to 15 million viewers regularly tuned in to join Harry Seacombe and Dame Gracie Fields, and to watch Norman Wisdom awkwardly pausing, or Ronnie Ronaldo whistling next to a fountain. There's been plenty for children too, with drama from Follyfoot Farm, song and dance from Junior Showtime, and the chance to learn that the benefits of easy origami are twofold: gripping viewing and picking up an essential life skill.
About this size if you want to make this week's model of a pigeon by the late Ligia Montoya of the Argentine.
YTV was a journalistic trailblazer too, Wicker's World setting a bar which many have since tried and failed to reach. Even for the TV stars of today, Yorkshire's back catalogue is something to proudly cherish.
Those chevrons that come up, you think, oh, yeah, I remember this show. This was brilliant, you know, and it's the list is endless. So, you know, on Yorkshire Day, I hope people sort of treat themselves and go back and remember that stuff, because it's like, you know, it feels like Yorkshire Television's got lots of golden eras, multiple golden eras, and you can just dig into all of those on that day, and it's going to be a real treat, I think.
Some of Yorkshire's TV treats will never be repeated. Imagine the manager of the biggest football club in the country today popping in for a chat with his arch rival on the day he got sacked.
Why? Because I didn't think it was necessary to have a meeting.
But we're going to start with the final cheese skittles. It's between Colin Price of Kettering and Charles White of Northampton.
And if it's sporting skills and thrills you want, we need look no further than the pint and pipe-wielding, mildly threatening genius of Fred Truman in the iconic Indoor League. Pure Yorkshire.
I'll see thee.
I'll see thee too, Fred. Fraser Maud, ITV News, in God's own county.
Oh, it takes you back, doesn't it?
There's some real nostalgia there. You like a bit of nostalgia, don't
look,
you,
this will
Ian?
take you back. Look, can you see this? I'm wearing some special cufflinks. Look, Yorkshire TV cufflinks. How about that?
They don't make them like that anymore, do they?
They don't.
All the programmes. Here's Kerry.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again, a very good evening to you. Everything's nice and green this month, but yes, sunshine in short supply. But loving the pathway through the wildflowers. A big thank you to Dave for sharing. And also this one, a pathway through the crops to rather cloudy skies. But of course, we're used to that now, aren't we? And for the rest of this week, showers or longer spells of rain, often quite breezy and feeling quite fresh with a northerly setting in Thursday into Friday. So this has been the scene so far today. Limited amounts of sunshine, a lot of cloud around, showery outbreaks of rain pushing north and eastwards during the day. But you can see these clear skies trying to edge in from the southwest as we head deeper into this evening and overnight tonight. So further showery outbreaks, certainly for the next few hours or so, and then a bit of a northwest-southeast split as we head into the early hours. And for most of us, by the time we reach dawn, this area of cloud is likely to have moved in. Fairly damp, certainly over the Pennines, misty and murky with some potentially heavy pulses. Nothing too chilly with the combination of cloud, showers and still a westerly breeze, certainly for the Pennines and out towards the coast. There are Eastern times for tomorrow, 5:20 and 9:04. So tomorrow in places it will be cloudy, damp, misty and murky over the hills, and then we will see a little bit of brightness perhaps developing into the second half of the day, but also the potential for a line of showers. And if you're under that, it could really be quite heavy for some time. But either side it will be a little bit drier and brighter, but temperatures are struggling to get to the average and the wind's fairly strong as well. Wednesday thoroughly unsettled, an area of low pressure swinging its way in from the southwest. So spiralling showers or longer spells of rain and chilly and windy at the coast.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go, that's your forecast.
Ian's been digging into his dressing up box again. What have you got there,
it's
Ian?
happy 55th birthday to Calendar as well, and this is one of Richard Whiteley's old ties. Can you believe it? There we are.
Worth a bob or two, that won't it? That's it from us. Ian will be back at 10:30 with the evening bulletin.
Yeah, have a good evening, won't you? Bye-bye.
Bye. See you.